Hey, my name's Lucas, and do you like cucumbers? Because I do, and I've got a bunch ready to harvest here in my raised bed garden, and today that's exactly what I'm going to do. So there's one cucumber here. You can see it's looking really good. This is perfect for salads. Just slice it up, toss it in, and there you go. This variety at the front is called Corinto, and I've got 4 of these ones growing. It's a nice slicing cucumber, and as mentioned before, it's great to add to any salads. It's really hard to get back in here and harvest these things. Wow. So these have gotten a bit overgrown. Typically, it's best to harvest cucumbers when they're a little smaller because then you won't have these big seeds in them, which would obviously not be very good, right? So something that's important when you're growing cucumbers at home and you have relatively limited space is that you should be growing them up some sort of trellis or support structure. In my case, I have them growing up these concrete reinforcement wire tomato cages. It's kind of hard to see right now because of course they're taking them over. So I've got 4 plants growing in each cage and they're about a foot apart and they're just producing a ton of fruit. So you might be saying, why do I need to do this? Well, number 1 is to maximize your vertical space. If you're growing in the city, like me, then you have a minimum amount of space and you want to maximize it as much as possible, fit the most plants in that given area. And by growing them vertically, of course, that's the best way to do it because vertical space is virtually unlimited. Another thing to keep in mind is that keeping the leaves off the ground will prevent disease from happening. You can see this plant right here. It's a lower down leaf and it's probably just old, but what can happen is the leaves that are lower down tend to be more exposed to moisture, and if they're lying on the ground, they'll get soil splashing on them when it rains. So having them up off the ground will keep them nice and dry and prevent bacteria and disease from getting in your plants. There's just a trio of cucumbers hanging out here. So this variety at the back here, I forgot to mention, is called Bristol. So it's another slicing variety, and again, it's great for salads. You can see it looks pretty much the same as the other one. Really nice dark green cucumbers. So I have the slicing cucumbers growing up those tomato cages, but I also planted some pickling cucumbers, and I planted them on the edge of my raised bed, and they're just cascading over the edge and growing onto the ground. You can definitely grow pickling cucumbers up a support structure as well, getting them off the ground and making harvesting easier, decreasing disease, and also maximizing your space. But in my case, I just didn't bother because I just wanted to have them sprawl out on the ground, and I think it's a really cool effect. So come on, let's go harvest some of these. So these pickling cucumbers are a variety called Max Pack. It's a hybrid pickling cucumber, and this is an example right here. This one's gotten a bit too large. You want to pick them when they're a bit smaller, but it's kind of hard to keep up sometimes. You gotta be really diligent and be out here every day looking for new pickles to pick. This is almost the perfect size for a pickle right here. See, if you ever eat pickles out of a jar, this is exactly what that looks like, right? How cool is that? Well, my neighbor just started his lawnmower, so enjoy. So you can see what a dense mess my garden is. This is why it's so important to space out your plants really well in the beginning, because most people don't realize just how big they're gonna get. I'm an experienced gardener, and even I made this mistake. So definitely be careful and make sure to space your plants according to recommendations. I really should be using shears, but it's kind of hard to film and harvest at the same time sometimes. The problem with growing cucumber plants is that they can really take over your garden. So if I were to do this again, I would definitely be planting them in their own raised bed because they're really starting to encroach on my other plants like my peppers and my tomatoes here. You can see I got a ton of cucumbers here just from a handful of plants in my raised bed in my front yard garden. So it's amazing what you can grow in such a small space. And I highly encourage anyone who's interested in growing vegetables to get started with cucumbers because I think they're one of the easiest crops to grow successfully. Just look at that harvest right there. How neat is that, eh? So guys, hope you enjoyed the harvest and thanks so much for watching. My name is Lucas and I'll see you next time.